In the following lecture, we're going to discuss the isomerism that is shown when complex ions are formed, especially related to transition metals. Now, the first type of isomers that we will talk about are known as geometric isomers, also known as cis and trans isomers, which you have studied already. A version of it has been studied in organic chemistry, and we're going to go over them as well. Now, if we revise organic chemistry, the type of geometric isomers, these are known as stereoisomers, where the bonding is the same. The CH3 is bonded to the same. The arrangement or the connectivity is exactly the same, except in stereoisomers, the orientation of the bonds is different. So this was one version of an alkene, which is butene, and this was known as the cis version. The shape of the molecule around the double bond is that it's trigonal planar, and the CH3s and the H were all pointing away from the carbon atom at a 120-degree angle. The same is true for this one. Now, for cis and trans and geometric isomers, uh, one version was that the CH3s or the hydrogens or any groups, these two groups had to be different, and these two groups over here around the double bond, they had to be different. So if the same type of groups were pointing in the same direction, then it was known as the cis version of the molecule, which is true for this particular molecule over here. And there could be another version of the molecule where you're going to have pretty much the same molecule, except, so I've drawn a partial structure, except that the CH3 is not pointing upwards, but instead this CH3 is pointing downwards. So it's still connected to the same atom, the same carbon atom, but instead of pointing upwards, it's pointing downwards. And the H, instead of pointing downwards, it's actually pointing in the upward direction. So one side has been rotated. And these two molecules are going to be different. This would be known as the trans version of the molecule. And rotation is not possible around the double bond. So you either have this molecule or you have the other isomer, which is this one. So either the H are pointing in the same direction. So if the same type of groups are pointing in the same direction, then that's known as a cis version. A trans version would be if they're pointing in the opposite direction. Now, this was organic chemistry, a cis version and a trans version, stereochemistry. We're going to discuss something similar that happens in organic chemistry, and we're going to start with octahedral complexes first. So, geometric isomers in octahedral complexes. Now, remember, not all octahedral complexes form cis and trans or geometric isomers. So let's take copper for example. These isomers are formed if there are four ligands of one type and there is one ligand of a different type. That's one possibility. So I've written this down as well. So remember, take any octahedral complex and ignore the water and the NH3 as well. There could be any ligands, as long as you have four ligands of one type and two ligands of another type. So it could have been any molecule whatsoever. So I'm going to quickly show first how this particular octahedral complex is going to end up forming. It's going to end up forming a cis and trans version. So let's draw this molecule first. So here you can see that I've drawn two octahedral arrangements around the copper ions. I'm going to fit in four water molecules and two NH3 molecules around it. They are ligands. So one version could be that the NH3 molecules or the ligands, they approach the copper 2 plus and they lie on opposite sides of copper 2 plus. And the other version would be that the NH3 molecules, they're not on opposite sides, but instead they're on adjacent axis. So the angle would be, they're going to be 90 degrees apart. Over here, the angle between them is 180 degrees. So these are the two possible arrangements, and I'm going to fit in the water molecules. There are four water molecules as well. So here you can see that I've added the water molecules as well. So this one is going to be known as your transversion. Why is this the trans arrangement? Because the water molecule, or the NH3 molecules in this case, they are on opposite sides. They're 180 degrees apart. And this version over here is going to be known as your cis version because the NH3s are close right next to each other. They have an angle, they're making an angle of 90 degrees. So this one is your cis arrangement. Now we're going to go back, and this is the cis and trans arrangement in an octahedral complex where there are four ligands of one type and there are two ligands of another type. Now we're going to talk about another arrangement where, again, it's I'm going to take the same complex side. The other arrangement is that there would be three water molecules of one type, three ligands of one type, and there would be three ligands of another type. Again, that's a total of six ligands around the copper ions, and they're the same type of ligands, except that the number is different. Uh, and this entire thing has 2 plus charge. So we're going to draw octahedral cis trans isomers in an octahedral complex, three ligands of one type and three ligands of another type. So here you can see I've drawn the octahedral arrangement, and I'm going to draw this cis and trans version, the two geometric isomers that this complex ion can have. Now, one arrangement is that it has three NH3s and three water molecules. So the three NH3s could be 90 degrees apart. So you have a water molecule, another water molecule, another water molecule on these axes, on the x, y, and z axis. And here are the lone pairs. So that is one arrangement, and they're all 90 degrees apart from each other. Think of this as, let's say this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, the other one is the z-axis. So they're orthogonal to each other. The other arrangement that's possible is that the three water molecules can have an angle of 180 degrees. There could be a water molecule on the top and a water molecule at the bottom. And there could be one water molecule that would be 90 degrees apart as well. So there are angles that where for example, these two water molecules, they are at an angle of 90 degrees to each other. But these two water molecules are making an angle of 180 degrees. So at least two of the water molecules are making an angle of 180 degrees, which is why they're opposite to each other. So this would be called your transversion. And this over here would be called your cis version because they're all together, they're all close to each other, and they're not making an angle of 180 degrees. And we can bring in the NH3 molecules as well. The NH3s are also a part of this. So bring them in. So if the water molecules are making an angle of 90 degrees, the NH3s are also, as you can see over here, they're also making an angle of 90 degrees to each other. And if the water molecules, a few of them are making an angle of 180 degrees to each other, then they're going to be NH3 molecules that would do the same as well. For example, these two NH3 molecules are going to be making, let me point this out, these two NH3 molecules are making an angle of 180 degrees to each other. So this is your transversion because they're making an angle of 180 degrees. This one is going to be your cis version of the molecule. Now we're going to do a few more examples, and this time I'm going to involve bidentate ligands. Hopefully you have an idea that if the ligands are attached on opposite sides, then that's a transversion. If the ligands are attached next to each other, making an angle of 90 degrees, then that's a cis version of the molecule. So even with bidentate ligands, you can come up with cis and trans isomers. So for example, and the bidentate ligand I have chosen is ethyl diamine. So two molecules of ethyl diamine, which is a bidentate ligand, and there are two water molecules. Now the water molecules could be attached on opposite sides, so that would give me my transversion. So here are my two water molecules, and the bidentate ligand would be attached. So it's going to be NH2, another NH2. There would be CH2s. The carbon chain would be in the middle, and they would be connected together, and the lone pairs would be coming from this side, and they would be coming or attaching from this side, and another side the same thing would repeat. You would have NH2s and you would have your CH2 carbon chain in the middle, and they're going to be connected to each other, and that's how your bidentate ligand would be attached. So this version over here, where the ligands, even if you look at these two ligands, they are 180 degrees apart from each other. If one is on the right side, the other one is on the left side. If the water molecule is at the top, the other water molecule is at the bottom. So they're making angles of 180 degrees, and this would be known as your trans version of this particular complex that I've written over here. And then obviously there's going to be a cis version. The cis version would be that the water molecules would be next to each other. Instead of being on opposite sides, the water molecules would be right next to each other. They would be making an angle of 90 degrees to each other instead of 180 degrees, and the bidentate ligands would be attached on the other axis. So here I've drawn the complete, I've attached the bidentate ligands on these sides, and you can see that the arrangement is different. So the two water molecules on opposite sides, the two water molecules next to each other. This one over here would be your cis version of this particular complex ion. Now we're going to move on a bit from octahedral complexes, and we're going to discuss some other shapes where geometric isomerisms exist. So that is square planar. Square planar complexes, they exhibit geometric isomers. They have a cis and they have a transversion. One example that we're going to do is cisplatin and transplatin. So here is an example of cisplatin. I've drawn the molecule. It's a square planar. This is the cis version of the molecule. So you have a platinum ion, and it's a square planar arrangement, which means that they're all at 90 degrees to each other, and they're lying on a flat plane. It's not a three-dimensional shape. So think of this as NH3, one NH3 on the backside, one NH3 on the right side, one Cl coming towards you, another Cl on the left side. So it's basically you have four sides in a plane, and on all planes 90 degrees to each other, there are ligands attached. Now, remember this particular square planar arrangement, you have two ligands of one type and you have two ligands of another type. So either the two ligands would be together and they would be making an angle of 90 degrees, which you can see over here. These two are also making an angle of 90 degrees to each other. Or there could be another version of the molecule, which is so here I've drawn this trans version of this molecule where the only thing that I've done is that I've switched the sides of one of the ligands, the orientation. So now you can see the CLs are pointing in opposite directions. So instead of making an angle of 90 degrees, let's rub that off, they're no longer making an angle of 90 degrees. These two CLs are making an angle of 180 degrees. And the NH3s are also making an angle of 180 degrees to each other. So this is your transplatin and this is your cisplatin. So this is one example that in square planar complexes you also have cis and trans arrangements, but that's only possible if there are two ligands of one type and there are two NH3s of another type. Now, here's another example of a square planar complex, but with bidentate ligands. The concept is exactly the same, the one that we are discussing. So you have a bidentate ligand, but you can see over here that the same uh, type of groups are on the same on the same side. For example, ignore that they are bidentate ligands. Look at the NH2s that are getting attached. They are being attached on the same side and they are making an angle of 90 degrees to each other. But over here, one of the bidentate ligand has been flipped around. The oxygen, instead of being bonded to the bottom side, is now bonded to the top side over here, and the NH2 that was bonded on the top side is now being bonded at the bottom side. So you can see clearly that that NH2s now are on opposite ends of. So they're two separate bidentate ligands, but now one of them has been flipped around. So now they're making an angle. The NH2s, if you just look at the NH2s, they're making an angle of 180 degrees, and they are now on opposite sides. So very similar to the cis and trans square planar arrangement that we just studied earlier. Now, another thing that I'm going to point out is that geometric isomers are really not possible in other shapes as there is no same side opposite side concept in those isomers. For example, if you have a metal and two ligands are attached and it's a linear complex, the angles are 180 degrees no matter which way you're going to arrange it. So it's always the angle doesn't change. It's always going to be in a linear complex. The angle is always 180 degrees. Similarly, in a trigonal planar complex, all the angles are all 120 degrees. So no matter if there's a metal ion, it's surrounded by three ligands. So no matter which way you arrange these ligands, A, B, and C, the angles between any two of the ligands is always going to be 120 degrees. The angle doesn't change. They're all just rotated versions of each other. So they're not going to be different arrangements. Even if I switch any of the sides, the molecule could just be rotated around and you're going to, or flipped around, and you're going to get the same exact shape. And lastly, the same thing exactly applies to a tetrahedral complex. So even this shape, if a complex ion is tetrahedral, then all the angles are going to be the same. They're going to be 109.5 degrees. So no matter which way you arrange all these four ligands, whether they are two of the same type or two of different types, it doesn't really matter. No matter which way you arrange them, the ligands are going to have any two ligands are always going to have an angle of 109.5 degrees. So there's no concept of same side or different side. So no matter which way you arrange these ligands, they're all just rotated versions of each other. They're not different. They're not different spatial arrangements. They're all simply rotated versions of each other. So I'm now going to sum square planar complexes first, sum up what we just studied. So the minimum requirement for a square planar complex to show cis and trans isomerism is that A and B, the small a and b, represent ligands. So if the metal ion M over here, they're two ligands of the same type and the two ligands of a different type, then they would show cis and trans isomerism. That's the minimum requirement. And obviously, if there are two ligands of one type and there's another ligand of another type and another ligand of another type, then obviously, if the types of ligands are different around the metal ion, then obviously they're going to show cis and trans arrangement as well. But usually, what happens is you don't actually have that many ligands in a particular solution. At best, you're going to have two ligands in a solution, but we're going to still study them. Or you could have a metal ion bonded to four different ligands. Even then, cis and trans arrangement is possible, and there are actually three different types of arrangements that are possible. And then we studied a square planar with a bidentate ligand, and they could also form complexes and complexes that show cis and trans isomerism. Now, similarly, we can conclude our octahedral complexes as well. In octahedral complexes, we studied uh, that for the minimum cis-trans arrangement, you can't really get cis and trans isomers if all ligands attached around the metal ion are of the same type, or if even one is different, then they won't exhibit geometric isomers. For that to happen, you need four ligands of one type and two ligands of another type, or three ligands of one type and three ligands of another type. Or if you're dealing with bidentate ligands, uh, we did isomerism using bidentate ligands as well. So this is again two ligands of one type and the four ligands because it's a bidentate ligand. AA represents the two sides of the bidentate ligand, so that's four of the same type. Or you could have all six ligands of different types, and there would be a number of different arrangements that are possible spatially. So there are 15 different possible arrangements. Or again, you could have an unsymmetric bidentate ligand where uh, three different unsymmetric bidentate ligands are attached, and they would also show cis and trans arrangement. So what I will do is I'll quickly go over a few of the arrangements that we did not study. So five different arrangements where two ligands, two ligands, and two ligands. There's six ligands in total. So let's have a look. And here you can see hypothetically how many different ways can the ligands get attached or arrange themselves. So you can look over here. These are known as your trans arrangements. Two of the ligands are on opposite sides, so they're making an angle of 180 degrees. But over here, the C and C are also on opposite sides, and the B and B are also in opposite sides. But over here, the C and C are next to each other, and the B and B are next to each other. And there would be plenty of cis arrangements where you could have all these other arrangements. So it's hard to actually figure out trans and cis, but in total there would be five different types of arrangements that are possible if there's a metal ion, there are two ligands of the same type, two ligands of the same type, two ligands of the same type. So out of those six ligands, there would be five different possible arrangements. And I'm just going to quickly also discuss this very quickly about unsymmetric bidentate ligands, where there are three different unsymmetric bidentate ligands. So let's have a look. So here you can see I have shown two arrangements of a particular complex. And this is an unsymmetric bidentate ligand where one side is NH2, the other side is oxen. So the lone pairs of oxen getting attracted, the lone pairs of nitrogen getting attracted. Now, if you look at the two arrangements, the one thing that you would notice is that one of the bidentate ligand has been attached and it has been switched around. The oxen was bonded on this axis, but in this one, the NH2 and the oxen have been switched around, so the oxen is now bonded on this axis. So what you would notice is, treat it as any, don't even think of it as a bidentate ligand. What you would notice is that previously the oxens were uh, next to each other. The NH2s, all the oxens were at 90 degrees to each other, and all the NH2s, they were 90 degrees to each other as well. They were on the three axis. But now what you would notice is that these two oxens are on opposite sides. The NH2s are on the same side. This NH2 is on opposite. So these three, if you look carefully, these three are lying in the same plane, and so the arrangement is different because these two oxygens previously they were making an angle of 90 degrees to each other, but now these two oxygens are making an angle of 180 degrees to each other. We will now discuss optical isomers in metal complexes. So when we are talking about optical isomers, we need to first define what they are. They are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. And the reason they are non-superimposable mirror images is that there is no axis of symmetry. What that basically means is, and the simple example that you have in front of you are your two hands. They look exactly the same, except for the fact that they are mirror images of each other, which means that they are non-superimposable. No matter which way you rotate one of your hands, let's say you're rotating your left hand, and your right hand is at the bottom. No matter which way you're going to rotate this, the hand is never going to look like the hand at the bottom. So your left and your right hands are always going to have a different orientation. For example, if you look over here, if you superimpose them, the thumbs are pointing in different direction, so the orientation of the bonds is different. Even if you rotate your hand and point the thumb in the direction as of the other hand, the palm would be facing the wrong direction. So the palms would be opposite to each other. So no matter what you try, you can have a go, try and rotate one of your hands. It's never going to look like your other hand. The other thing is the reason this happens is because if you draw an axis anywhere in this on your hand, the left and right side of your hand is always the two sides of your hand would always be different. So cut your hand in any two pieces from the center. The two pieces are always going to be different. So there is no axis of symmetry. It's not symmetric. So whenever there's an absence of symmetry, the shapes are going to be mirror images. The mirror image of the shape is going to have it's going to be considered a different molecule as it is non-superimposable. So I'm going to do one example over here. Octahedral complexes with bidentate ligands, they usually form mirror images, non-superimposable, and they're going to form optical isomers. So if you have a look over here, this particular complex, this over here represents a bidentate ligand. I can draw an actual bidentate ligand and show this. Here is an example of an actual bidentate ligand. There's nickel, and there is this bidentate ligand which has NH2 groups bonding on both sides. This is your bidentate ligand. They're connected with a carbon chain, the two NH2s. Now, the two mirror images are non-superimposable. They don't have an axis of symmetry. I mean, if you look at this axis, it's not symmetrical around that axis. If you look at this axis, no matter where you slice this molecule, there is no symmetry in this particular complex ion. So a mirror image is always going to be non-superimposable. So there are going to be two versions of the complex, and the two versions would be enantiomers of each other. Here's another example of an optical isomer. So you don't even need to have three bidentate ligands. What you could have in an octahedral complex, you can just have two bidentate ligands, and on two sides there are CLs attached. So they are monodentate ligands on two sides. Even then, the mirror image is going to be non-superimposable. No matter how you rotate this molecule, it's never going to look like this molecule. So you can try this. You can try rotating the CL. I mean, this axis over here, you can try rotating the CL just 90 degrees to the left so that the CL is pointing in this direction. But all the other bidentate ligands would all be pointing in different directions. So it's they're non-superimposable and they're going to be mirror images of each other. So mirror images are formed either you have three bidentate ligands in an octahedral complex, so they're going to be non-superimposable mirror images, or the other option is that you have two bidentate ligands, and on two sides they're the normal monodentate ligands. Even then, the molecules are going to be non-superimposable mirror images of each other, and they're going to be optical isomers. And also remember that this would only happen if the two CLs are on the same sides and they are making an angle of 90 degrees to each other. Only then would they be non-superimposable, because if the CL were in the transversion and the CLs, instead of being adjacent to each other, they were actually opposite to each other, then the mirror images, there was going to be symmetry, and the mirror images are not going to be non-superimposable. So in that case, there wouldn't be any optical isomers. So the CLs or the monodentate ligands, they have to be pointing in the same direction. So let's now finally talk about the minimum conditions that are necessary for optical isomers. So I've drawn these two mirror images of a molecule. So the octahedral complex should look like an arrangement should be similar to this, that two same types of ligands, like the blue ones over here, they should be together 90 degrees apart. Two yellow ligands over here, the same type of ligands, they might be connected. It could be a bidentate ligand, but they have to be together. And two ligands, similar type, the red ones over here, they have to be together. So if the arrangement is like this, then this molecule has no plane of symmetry, and the mirror image is going to always have a different orientation. Even you can look at these two mirror images. You can try and rotate this particular molecule in any direction you like, but it's never going to look like this molecule. You can visualize this. You can kind of rotate the four bonds over here in the middle like a fan, and bring these blue dots towards yourself, like the one shown in the mirror image. But the yellow and the red uh, ligands, they're not going to point in the right direction. So no matter what you do, I mean, this is the minimum arrangement. What we have done so far is that these two red ligands, they could be connected, or they could be bidentate ligands connected by a carbon chain or anything. So that's one version. That's one version. Or the yellow ones and the blue ones. The yellow ones might be connected to each other like a bidentate ligand, or the blue ones might be connected as well together like a bidentate ligand. So they would be connected together like a bidentate ligand. So these are the minimum necessary conditions for optical isomers to form in octahedral complexes. And these conditions are met in the previous examples that we did. Like the one that is shown over here, you can see uh, that on these two axes you have the same type of ligands 90 degrees apart, same type of ligands 90 degrees apart. You have the same type of ligands. So the mirror image is going to be different. It's going to have a different orientation. And pretty much the same type of stereochemistry, optical isomerism is shown over here, that same type of ligands 90 degrees apart, same type of ligands 90 degrees apart, same type of ligands 90 degrees apart. The mirror image is going to be having a different orientation. So again, recapping everything, you can either have three bidentate ligands, and the mirror image is going to be a non-superimposable mirror image. Or you could have two bidentate ligands, and these two could be same type of ligands, and the mirror image is still going to be an optical isomer. So lots of different combinations are possible. So these are the minimum that you need to remember, and remember these ones that we have previously discussed, the complexes that we have already discussed, especially this one.